It is a brand new edition of Flyers Daily for August 4th, 2025. Flyers Daily brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Make more memories abroad from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyHotStove.com. It is Bill Meltzer. Welcome to How's Ireland?
Ireland is absolutely beautiful. It's we were in Kildare today. We were in Dublin yesterday. We did the Guinness tour yesterday. Today was a little less tourist, a little bit more, a little bit more local.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful city. We saw some of the oldest, most historic churches in Ireland. We went to the National Stud and the gardens there, which are beautiful. Walked around town for a couple of hours, just breathtaking. Well, it's a beautiful place, and everybody's so friendly and knowledgeable. Like they like when you ask about local things, and they're happy to share them with you. It's been a great time.
They're proud of their history.
100%, absolutely,
which is awesome. Yeah, that's a tremendous thing. And Bill over there with the Flyers alumni right now over in Ireland. Bill, I'm looking the other day at the Vegas future odds. And, I'm sure you're seeing it too and feeling it kind of with Flyers fans. They're starting to understand the plan and getting a little excited about the future here. But I see the Vegas odds for point totals this year, and I see the Flyers at 76.5, and I go, oh, no. Like, I look at last year, and I go, that really wouldn't be any progress, and it made me nervous. Yeah. When you see that, are you a little surprised at that number? Or I try not to put any, weight into it because it's Vegas and they're just trying to get you to gamble.
Well, exactly. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would take the over on that one. That I don't have to think about that one. I don't, I don't know if it's going to be over enough to get in the playoffs, but I'll take the over. I'll take the over on that. I see them being much closer where they were, not this past season, but the season before that.
Yeah, I agree. And I look at it and I go, boy, they actually had them a point below the Penguins. And I'm just thinking, it just seems odd to me. But
no, again, but Jason, remember, these last couple of years, they've had the Penguins kind of as a playoff
inflated.
Team.
Yeah, they've inflated them.
Vegas, in terms of hockey odds, they're a little bit behind. I mean, they're going with what people are betting on, though. That's what they're setting it by. But betting on hockey is never a good idea, just because it's the
randomness.
It's so random, right? A terrible team will still win 20 games. So, and that's a brutal team. But at any rate, there's so much uncertainty in it. But I think the chances are really. I mean, I certainly hope the odds are really strong. The Flyers having more points than that. To me, if you said it as an over/under for about 85, 87 points, then you have something to decide. But like
76.
Less than that, I don't see that.
Yeah, me neither. I looked at it and it kind of freaked me out. But you see the same thing I'm seeing, and we're starting to see fans kind of understanding the plan. Like a lot of people for a long time, what are they doing? They're not really doing anything. They haven't done anything splashy, and that's not the Flyers way, and that's not kind of how we've been programmed as Flyers fans through our lifetime. But you kind of see the things starting to come together now. You kind of seeing that optimism and kind of, okay, I'm starting to see the big picture in Danny Briere and Keith Jones and what's going on here.
Yeah, I think there's certainly. It's not necessarily the most vocal facet of the fan base, but there certainly is a significant portion of the fan base that sees the avenue that if it clicks, if the right guys step up and the goaltending holds up, the things we've been talking about, right? That this should be a better team, hopefully, and I think if it works too. With the 1-year contracts and whatnot, there's an avenue to add other pieces a year from now, and hopefully stay a team for a number of years that would be a playoff team. The Flyers still have to get there. There's still a lot of improvement that it's going to take to get there, but I think I think there's a roadmap for doing it.
Bill, part of that roadmap this season is, and I want to ask you this question, and what you think is more likely. Ideally, for the Flyers and any team, you want to score more and give up less.
Yeah.
That's the combo platter plan. But is it more likely that they score more this season or give up less? Now, last year, when it came to offense and goals for games played, they scored 2.83.
Yeah.
That was 24th in the NHL.
Yeah.
So they're in the bottom third there. But when you look at what they gave up last year in the league, they gave up the fifth the most amount of goals per game at 3.45. What's more likely, that they score more or give up less?
Well, I think they will give up marginally less, hopefully more than marginally, because the goaltending, hopefully, will be better.
I think environment too.
Yeah, and that, that certainly is a piece of it. The buy-in, right? Just that first year grace period for new coach. I think players are excited to play for Talk. There's a lot of respect factor there, so that certainly helps. But going ahead a year, let's hope that Tyson Forster is healthy to go into the season. We still don't know that yet, but I think he certainly is poised to maybe not carry over exactly what he did at the end of the season, because those things don't always carry over, but to be able to finish with more goals than he had a year ago. And he finished great. I think Owen Tippett, he needs to be better this year. That's critical. You add Zegras. I think the pieces are there to score more.
Yeah.
So I do think the Flyers will score more and give up a bit less. Now will it be just a night and day difference in terms of scoring? And I mean, the Flyers, if you remember, for a chunk of last year, I think it was like a 25 game segment. The team was actually comfortably in the top half of scoring, but not on the whole, because they had some really cold stretches too at the beginning and then later on. But I think that the elements are there to score more. It's not that they've added much on D. They've added some depth pieces, but hopefully Drysdale continues to get better. Cam York has more like exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's an absolutely crucial guy. If York can get back to what he did the season before last, that's that right there is improvement. So I do think they'll give up less, and again, I mean, I think the change in goal will help too. But I would actually say scoring more is it's pretty doable. I think they'll do that.
Well, of course, part of the equation there too becomes the power play.
For sure, but that has to get better. So
yeah, I mean, just at this point, it can't get worse. I mean, you have the pieces too, and with Zegras, a guy that's an absolute puck wizard. Bill, one of the episodes this week, I think it was Wednesday's episode, I looked at the effect of an NHL head coach. How much effect do they actually have on result? And there was an MIT study that had it at about 25-30% to the result, but a lot of it's culture. Sometimes we think of the NHL as a finished product league. It's not. I mean, we're going to talk in a moment. We're going to talk about the development and year two of Matvei Michkov. And look, frankly, they're a huge development year for Trevor Zegras too. But when you look at a coach in year one, his voice is probably never louder and more clearer than year one. So this is a really important year for Rick Tocchet, because what you do in year one from a transitional standpoint of result, you carry into year two and going forward as a head coach.
Without a question. When you're setting an identity and a bar for what and a game plan for what you're doing, that should carry over beyond the first year. Hopefully your team is improving beyond that, particularly where the Flyers are at right now. But this year actually kind of defining what this team can and needs to be. This year is absolutely critical, and there's a big piece of that is culture. A big piece of that is, listen, it's also about mutual trust, right, and communication. Talk is coming in with for good reason to be known as a player's coach, a really good communicator. And player's coach doesn't mean that a coach who lets players walk all over him. What a player's coach really means is that there's two-way dialogue, there's give and take, and if a player has something to say, he doesn't feel reluctant to say it. And the thing with Talk, as Talk has matured as a coach and transitioning from player to coaching, he's not afraid of the question why. Why do you want me to do this?
Yeah. Couldn't have done that when he played for Mike Keenan.
No.
But it's different now.
No. Although I think that as Talk matured a little bit, I think one of the reasons why he was one of the guys who clashed with Keenan, maybe he wouldn't ask why, but he would sometimes question what they were doing.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Talk and Keenan didn't always have the smoothest sailing. Talk was one of the guys who, would in Keenan's final year as head coach, was one of the guys who butted heads with him. I've asked Talk actually a couple of times, not just as when he was hired as head coach, but also when he won the Flyers Hall of Fame. Have there been times as you transition to coaching where you look back at situations with other head coaches and you go, oh, okay, now I know why he did that.
Yeah.
Right. And he said, yeah. I mean, you go back, you look at your own experience and you kind of take what's useful and the little bits and pieces you pick up from all the coaches you've had and your own that becomes your coaching style. But all these things that you learn and you evolve. And by the way, in fairness to John Tortorella, I think he evolved too. More so than I think that sometimes he's given credit for. He wasn't the same coach, of the Flyers that he was in Tampa Bay. I mean,
or the Rangers,
or the Rangers, or whatever. I mean, one of the things that Torts had to give up was trying to script games out.
Yeah, control it all.
Controlling all of it, and I think that was one of the first things that Talk learned too. So, to me, this year I really want to see how much give and take there is. Like, I think we've all been following this thing with Michkov kind of complaining about not wanting to play dump and chase, and sometimes you have to.
Yep.
And I think Talk very skillfully handled that question, being it's like, there'll be situations like if that's just like a hard and fast attitude, we're gonna have to talk about it, right? Yeah. But defining when you can and when you can carry it in and when you have to put it in deep and go get it.
2v4 at the end of a shift, you dump the puck.
Exactly.
And Michkov wouldn't even argue with it.
There's not a player alive. There's not a guy who's ever played in that situation where you should be trying to carry it in. Yeah. Right. So
in the second period with a long change.
Exactly. So as long as the ground rules are understood on both sides, Talk has said. And, his history shows that he's not necessarily a coach with a ton of rules, but there are a lot of non-negotiables. But some of these things are common sense. As long as common sense is shown, and Michkov is an example. He's a very smart hockey player. Of knowing when he can and when he can't do something, right? So as long as that's understood on both sides, you grow from it. I mean, you're not going to agree 100% of the time, but I'm really interested to see that particular relationship, how that evolves over the course of the year. It can be a very productive one, but it's also silly to say it'll be without bumps in the road, because any guy who takes a lot of risk, high skill player, there are going to be situations where he maybe pushes the envelope a little bit too far and you reel it in a little. But by the same token, as trust builds, you give a guy a little bit more leeway to try to create. So that's really going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, that relationship in particular it leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is Michkov. And there's going to be times where he comes to the bench and say, that's the time. You were out for a minute 25. Like just chip that and get off, and let's get fresh legs out there, and we'll go get them next shift. And there's other times you're going to go, that's a spot where he's going to have times where he's questioning himself, where he's going to chip it in, and he's going to that's a time when you have support coming, carry it in.
Yeah.
It's going to go both ways. It's going to cut both ways. And, there's a lot of a guy commented on one of the videos from last week too and said, dump and chase is such old time boring hockey. And I go, well, the team that won the last 2 cups is the team that dumps and chases the most in the entire league.
No, without a question. And, it's a modern dump and chase, right? But
yeah,
Carolina's always chipping the puck in, and then they're retrieving it with speed. But it's a form of chip and chase. It's not, So, I think that if you're playing with pace, playing with speed,
and smart support,
or there's the Florida way, which is more the smash mouth style. You go in and you knock somebody off the puck physically. There's a lot of ways. If there was only one way to win, every team would play the same exact way.
And nobody would lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing. Like you see these, like I'm watching these playoffs, and again, you're watching all the teams that are advancing. Even Edmonton, like Connor McDavid is a chip and chase it himself guy. Like he knows when to do that. I mean, you got those spots where, especially because you're controlling where the chip goes, before the other team knows where you're putting it for what reason as well. Let's talk about Michkov and expectations in year 2, Bill, because I get the sense, and rightfully so, he's earned it. The expectations for year 2 of Michkov are very high. I mean, last year he plays 80 games. He ends up with 63 points as a rookie, as a small-ish type player too. Showed he's an absolute gamer, and we'll get in there and stir it up and mix it up. Not afraid of anything. But when you look at year 2, there's teams aren't going to be surprised by Michkov this year. They're going to play him a little bit differently.
They certainly will, but he'll also have a book on other guys he's played against. I certainly expect further progress. Another 10 points, being comfortably over 30 goals this year. Actually,
I think he nips at that point per game player.
Yeah, I think he can certainly flirt with that. I think that's an ambitious goal, but it's an unreachable goal for a guy with his talent. It's an interesting discussion. I'm interested to see where you fall on it. I mean, do you see Konechny leading the team in points again, or do you see Michkov assuming that mantle this year? I will tell you personally that I think it's one more year out.
I agree.
Michov's leading the team in points.
I agree. And look, that would be if all things are even injury-wise and games played. I still think Konechny comes in at that where I think Michkov is going to flirt with a point per game. I think Konechny's about, if there's an improvement on the power play, which benefits obviously both players, I think Konechny comes in at that 75 to 78, maybe 82 point range. I think Michkov is just a notch below.
Yeah, I have Michkov around 72.
Yep.
And I have Konechny between 78 and 82, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Konechny's still the guy that look, it's not a question of do I think Konechny's better than Michkov, whatever. But I just think that he's going to have more points for another year. But then Michkov's going to assume that mantle. What do you think? What do you think is a rational number for Zegras? Because I can't come up with it. I saw some people going, "Oh, he's going to have 70 points," and I can't even really put an educated guess on a number for him at this point. I just don't know.
I can't either. After the injuries and positional switches the last 2 years.
Yeah, new team.
One thing I really want to see, Jason, before I put even conjecture a number to it, they're going to look at him at center first day, right? That's going to be plan A, is that he can take a center role and roll with it. Do you see him staying in the middle or ending up back on a wing because of, and not just because of the face-off part that's weak, but also and we discussed talk systems this center is absolutely pivotal in Tocchet systems. And Zegras is going to have to, not just the offensive side of it, he's going to have a lot of responsibilities if he plays in the middle. A lot of it, if it's done right, should lead to more offensive opportunities. But it's a very demanding, playing under Tocchet to be a center, especially near the top of the lineup. I want to see. I would love if he can take it and run with it. Then the Flyers are in really good shape. But he has in terms of his overall skill. I mean, we talked about his relationship with Cronin, and one of the reasons why Cronin was happy with him this past year was he did improve in his 200-foot game all around, but he sacrificed a lot of offense to do it.
Yeah,
the Flyers need him to do those things, but also score too.
Yeah.
So
he's got to be a power at both ends, and in Tocchet's system, with that center being responsible low so often, he's going to have to play more of the 200 by 85 than he's probably ever played in his life.
No doubt.
And fitness becomes a part of that equation too, Bill, to play that way, to cover that much ice.
Oh, for sure. There's a, the center. I mean, he's gonna have to help protect the house. The way that the breakouts work. I mean, and we talked a little bit about talking breakouts. I mean, the defensemen obviously are going to be crucial in that too, but the center is a critical piece in because a lot of times he's he's a safety valve, right, to get it. Yeah. Either to have your weak side winger breaking out of the zone early, or to get it to your strong side winger on a relatively short pass. Quick decisions, because you're gonna end up turning the puck over, and if you make the wrong decision, it's coming back at you with numbers. All that's coming towards your net, and that has not really been a strength of Zegras in terms of a consistency standpoint. So I really want to see not just back checking, because I think he'll continue to work on that, but just in terms of triggering the transition game. Not I know he's going to make some highlight reel plays because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But just in terms of making the routine play routinely, if he can do that, then the Flyers are in good shape.
Yeah, and I know one thing, that when Rick Tocchet was hired, the message was clear. Boys, you better come in. Like, they had to come in shape under John Tortorella for the rope and obvious reasons. Talk very similar in that regard.
Yeah.
Being out of shape or not being in the peak physical condition is never going to be an acceptable excuse. Not the way he still is.
No, I was going to say, you look at Toc himself. I mean, maybe Rod Brindamore's the ultimate gold standard, but Toc's not too far behind there.
Yeah, so. He can still get after it, no question about it.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Read Bill's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and a great hockeyhotstove.com as well. Bill will be journaling along from Ireland. Bill, enjoy the rest of the trip, and we'll talk next week.
Awesome, Jason. Thank you.
We're back Wednesday with another edition of Flyers Daily.